Hi, 我是汤 Will.
And welcome to Zambia. If you're new here, we are Going Awesome Places. We create content from our travels all over the world and have a keen focus on helping others plan incredible trips like this one. We also do gear and tech reviews. Above all else, we are explorers. Staying in Zambia has been like a dream, with incredible bush camps spanning 2 national parks and surrounded by incredible wildlife that surprise us at every turn. We're partnering with Classic Zambia Safaris to find out what makes this country and its national parks so underrated for safari. Our first safari was in South Africa for our honeymoon, if you remember our early vlogs. It was a trip of a lifetime, but when talking to other travelers, we realized this was a great start to safari, but there was so much more in terms of raw and unfiltered safari experiences. We always wondered what that meant, and so when we learned about Classic Zambia, we realized that this was the exact type of safari that we were waiting for. Make sure to keep watching because we have an exclusive offer if you book with our referral code, so stay tuned. For this trip, we're following in the footsteps of a very popular combination with Classic Zambia Safaris, where you split time between the Lower Zambezi and Kafue National Parks. It's called the Ultimate Leopard, and it's normally 8 nights, but we decided to spend a little more time out here. The 3 camps we're staying in are across 2 national parks. The first is Lower Zambezi National Park with Kutali, which is where we are now, and Chula Island Camp. The second is Kafue National Park and Musekese Camp. You're probably wondering what the camp life, the tents, food, Wi-Fi, flights, and everything else in between is like at Classic Zambia. Don't worry, I got you covered. We have a whole separate video about this, so make sure to watch that next. Instead, let's stick to the fun stuff and show you through our eyes what made our Classic Zambia Safaris experience filled with surprises, wonder, and moments that made us go,
Wow!
Let's start with Kutali. We didn't quite understand it at first, but the location of Kutali is especially photogenic, being right up against the banks of the Zambezi River and backed by a dense winterthorn forest. It's this that creates the most magical scenes, especially at sunrise and sunset, with the golden light breaking through and diffusing through the trees. Falling into the rhythm of camp was quite easy, and it starts with the food. We really enjoyed the simplicity of breakfast around the campfire, where freshly toasted bread, porridge, and ginger shots became our everyday routine. There was also the option of having a bush breakfast upon request, which we highly recommend. Mid-morning, the tea and coffee break was certainly much needed. The buffet lunch, always filling of course. Then throw in the afternoon teas, sundowners with alcoholic drinks and snacks, and then the fabulous dinners. Let's just say we were very well fed. On top of that, every Thursday and Sunday are braai nights, where they have a special setup for the barbecue, a true delight. The main camp area here is large and spacious, where you'll find features like the library, souvenir shop, different couches to hang out in, and you'll appreciate just how the grandness of the Zambezi River is right there in front of your eyes. We stayed in Tent 3, and as far as our first bush camp goes, we were really impressed with how comfortable this was. With shelving and hangers to keep us organized, fan on the hot afternoons, electricity to keep us charged, super comfy beds, plenty of space, fully plumbed toilet, and bucket shower, which is actually much more glamorous than it looks. This had everything we needed. Sighting-wise, the beauty of safari is that you never know what nature will bring. For us, we encountered a pride of lions right by camp on 2 separate days, awestruck with seeing their greeting rituals, and otherwise plopping down for a rest. We also managed to see the famed leopard of the region, Kwela. She was found deep in the dry sandy riverbed where we almost got stuck. This was the only time on our entire trip where there were this many vehicles from different camps around one sighting, 2 Classic Zambia vehicles, and 1 from another. Kwela was pretty chill throughout and moved between 2 spots before moving off. But sometimes, the sightings were right inside camp. Kutali is where we had the most visitors out of the 3 where we stayed, where elephants and hippos commonly came through to our delight. So this is camp life. We're just hanging about and there is a hippo right out there. On top of the traditional game drives, we canoed the Chakwenga Channel, which was largely pretty low-key sighting-wise, but a nice change of pace. We also did a walking safari under our scout Edwin's protection, where we learned a lot more about the smaller things in the bush. And it's the Zambezi River that gives life. The boat safari at sunset was magical, spotting tons of birds and so many pods of hippos. Then on our fishing activity, I caught 2 small catfish and Chantel this much larger vundu. Oh, this is a big one! This being the transition from wet to dry season, the bush was still quite thick and water bountiful throughout the park. So they told us that the sightings would be slower, but honestly, we still managed to see so much. As our first bush camp experience, Kutali did not disappoint. And what a sweet start to our safari. On our final morning at Kutali, we packed up our bags and got onto our usual morning game drive, except this time we were transiting to Chula Island. What the morning had in store for us was another surprise, starting with these elephants. That was cool. And then all of a sudden...
So I have 2 males now. One is following the next to these 2. It's coming from the forest if you are copying it. Can you see the male, guys?
There's another male?
The other male just in that to the forest there.
Oh yeah, some movement.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the other male.
Yeah.
This the brother?
The brother, yeah. You can see that?
Whoa. So this is the same pride that we've been seeing throughout our trip. This being one of the other males in the pride sneakily shadowing his brother. It's all for mating rights, you see. He hangs around just close enough in case there's an opening. The main pair move around together and rest in different areas around us. The no-tail male, we call him, also gets up a few times to see if she's interested to mate, but the lioness says no. That is how the morning went before we began our adventures at the next camp.
Chula Island surprised us just as much.
They definitely don't call it the new Valley of the Leopard for nothing. What you first have to understand is that Chula Island is on a proper island. It's 10 kilometers long and 3 kilometers wide. To get here, the game drive vehicles on the mainland have to park on this side. You walk down this path, hop on the solar-powered pontoon, get off on the other side, and then jump on their open-top island vehicle. From there, it's a 10-minute ride to camp. Walking into camp, you immediately notice the differences. The sandy path with grass beacons lead you to the main area like a runway. Along the way, you'll pass by the Wi-Fi tree. By design, you need to consciously come here if you want to access it. It was nice to stay connected in Zambia, but with the option of Wi-Fi if needed. Further down is the central area of camp. The large canvas tent will feel very familiar, and in fact, many of the decorative pieces and furniture are similar. What's different though, is that you don't get the winterthorn trees surrounding you. Instead, there are the mahogany trees that act as a giant umbrella for shade, which makes it perfect to come here to sit on one of these chairs or beanbags to look out into the land and water beyond. Water used to come right up to here, but today there's a short walk out to where the boats are parked. Unmistakably, we'd say that the tents here are bigger and better, letting in a ton more light and is even more spacious. We also quite like the bathroom layout, with the toilets tucked in the back, bucket shower, and the sink area, which has a great view of the island. Now, one thing that you should know is that you might get cute visitors throughout your stay here. If you didn't know, Chula means frog, and they are definitely everywhere. Otherwise, most of what we got used to and loved at Kutali was right here as well, including the public lavatory, water filling station, bench to put our bags, and of course, friendly smiles. As you'd expect, the food was superb. Breakfast was the exact same style with bread and porridge over the campfire, lunch always the balanced meal served buffet style, morning breaks, afternoon teas, and sundowners always a hit, and dinners at the end of the night that were incredibly delicious. They managed to surprise us with a few dances and even a farewell cake on our last night.
There we go! Oh.
While we were still in the lower Zambezi, this side of the national park was different. Having more flat and open plains, we saw many more zebras and buffalo. As the new Valley of the Leopard though, what did that mean? For one, there are so many resident leopards on Chula Island. The challenge though is that in May, the grass is a little bit too high, so it's quite easy for them to hide in the bush. However, on one drive back to camp, Richard and I spotted some movement in the grass.
You are right. I was just thinking, if you saw something running.
It was tiny. It looked like a cat.
There was a leopard mom with her cub, and they had just made a kill. Of course, they ran right away, but as luck would have it, we drove through again in the afternoon and managed to spot her. She kept looking up though, so we suspect she moved the kill up the tree. And the cub? We caught it briefly in the bush with mom before disappearing. On another day, things were quite quiet, until another safari vehicle told us they had spotted a leopard lying down in a gully. We bolted there right after our morning break, and there he was. Given our guide called him Big Tom. You can tell just from looking at him how big he was, and also his older age as well. Our biggest encounter was this multi-day viewing of another leopard and her cub. As most things go, we were just driving down one of the many loops and Given spotted them across the way. Scanning the area, we then noticed that there was a fresh impala kill dangling at the top of a tree branch. That clued us in that there was much more to what we were seeing. As the sun slowly went down, the leopards were quite active, including when the cub started hunting down a cobra that appeared out of nowhere. By the end of the night, the mother cub lay in the grass guarding the tree, but the plot thickened when two hyenas showed up, looking for scraps or a way to steal the food. The next morning, we came back, and to our delight, the leopards were still around. The kill, though, was not in the tree from the other night, but we realized that she had somehow moved it to another tree overnight. In a snap, the leopard made a few powerful leaps onto the tree and started snacking on her meal. I was already blown away at this point with the photography I was able to get. With her breakfast done, she then spent a good amount of time hanging out on a few different tree branches, creating quite the striking pose at sunrise, which I just couldn't believe we were there to witness. Our guide helped us get into the right positions with that beautiful morning light, and I managed to snap these shots. She eventually came back down to reunite with her cub, and it was a heartfelt moment between the two. Eventually, she came down for a drink, and that's when the little one appeared and joined her mom by the water. The last portion of the morning had the leopard climb back up the tree, bring the food down, and dragged it into the bush with the cub full of excitement. Remember those hyena? Well, they actually never left the scene and kept lurking around. We initially saw the adult leopard but was quickly spooked by the hyena, and both her and the cub could be seen hanging in this short tree. We came back the next morning, but the leopards were gone at this point, thus ending our leopard saga. The leopards didn't steal the full show. We always managed to find large herds of elephants, and because of all the water around Chula Island, we were fascinated by how crossings work, the negotiation between different families across, and the inevitable mud bath as well. We couldn't keep our eyes away from this baby that literally went to town with the mud. We must have stayed here for almost an hour just watching this incredible moment unfold. And how can I forget not only our walking safari, but the canoeing we did along what's called the Discovery Channel.
It's canoe safari time.
What we discovered was how many pods of hippos one channel can have. We had quite a few exciting close encounters, but our canoe guides did a great job of navigating our way around them. On the channel, it's the thrill of the hippos, but also seeing other wildlife like the birds, elephants, and crocodiles that immerses you into the land. And the photographs, of course, from this vantage point are magic. One thing that was a constant during our time at Chula Island, the staff here love to sing and dance. What a welcome, right? We also found that throughout all of our camps, we were always warmly greeted after returning from any activity with either warm or cold wet towels, depending on the weather. Overall, Chula was a unique experience on its own that we loved very much. If you have the time, we would tell you to stay at both Kutali and Chula Island in the lower Zambezi. You won't regret it. The final piece of the puzzle of this itinerary is right here in Musekese Camp, Kafue National Park. After all those days in the lower Zambezi, it was finally time for us to explore a different national park. We treated ourselves to a special experience. Instead of a plane with sky trails, we opted to fly one leg of it with a helicopter. This was our first time flying in a helicopter, and boy was it an experience. From the smooth takeoff, to flying over the park, then into the mountains, following the river as we went along, crossing over villages and farmlands before landing in Lusaka. From there we switched planes to this beauty, which brought us to the northern part of Kafue National Park and Lefupa airstrip. The whole journey took 2 hours. Something unique that Classic Zambia does is that they work closely with the charter company SkyTrails for their connections into the park, except you're not paying private flight prices. This allows you to get to the camps right when you need to and to the closest airstrip. We flew with SkyTrails throughout our entire trip. From the airstrip, you take a 3-minute ride to the Kafue River, 10 minutes on the river to the other side, and then another 10 minutes on a game drive vehicle into Musekese Camp. Warm welcomes from the camp team as we arrived, of course, a nice cool wet towel, and welcome drink as well. When you finally take in the surroundings of both camp and this national park, you realize what they said is true. You really feel like you're in a much wilder part of Zambia with literally no other camps around, roads that wouldn't have existed if it wasn't for Classic Zambia, and that additional sense of excitement that this region is still evolving as conservation work continues and wildlife rebounds. It's this slice of paradise that is hard to find these days on safari. Let's start with camp. When we first arrived, we were so impressed with what they had built here. Set in the nearly perfect spot where tall trees provide the shade you need and overlooking what they call Eden Lagoon. Compared to the other camps we stayed in, there was an even grander presence to them, with more permanent structures like the main camp area, where the outstretched deck and dining area looks out into the lagoon, and behind, a massive stretch canvas tent where you can't help but want to sit down on one of the number of couches and chairs, grab a book while sipping on a drink. This is also where you'll find the souvenir shop, which has a number of different locally made crafts, jewelry, branded clothing, water bottles, and even items made from repurposed snare wire. Next to the water filling station is the bar, and this wooden counter is where you'll be able to get your tea and coffee throughout the day, and where you'll find the afternoon tea snacks. Other things that make you feel at home are this map, where you can either use these magnets to mark your recent sightings, or there's the chalkboard where you can write it in instead. It's a camp that feels like a proper exploration outpost that oozes with history. When it comes to the tent themselves, you're in for a real treat. here's a look into our acacia tent. The first thing we noticed was just how incredibly large the tent was. To the left is a table, closet for hangers, and where you'll find the yoga mat and slippers. To the right is the dresser, where you'll find the radio, flashlight, bug repellent, and ID books. The bed is a plush, king-size bed with mosquito mesh netting, which is quite important to note because the tent is open to the outside during the day. It's also raised off the ground with wooden decking, so the room is not completely sealed. There's of course power into the room with this outlet. The room is also equipped with a fan for those hot afternoons, and a rack here for your hats and water bottles that are included in the room. Keep going further back and you'll find the bathroom. Instead of bucket showers, you have full hot and cold water plumbing, and tucked away in the back is the toilet. Our favorite part of the room was being able to sit on these chairs on the deck and looking out into the lagoon. This time of year in May, there isn't as much wildlife that comes into the lagoon for water, but there's plenty of birds including kingfisher, and we even had this elephant get pretty close as well. Each tent is perfectly spaced with the others, so you get complete privacy. From a sighting side of things, it's quite different in Kafue compared to Lower Zambezi. The roads aren't as perfectly groomed and graded, so the ride was bumpier. You also won't find any winterthorn trees here, but instead they're replaced with sausage trees and these trees that resemble cactus. The wildlife is also just a little bit different here as well. Instead of the common impala and waterbuck, you get puku and defasa waterbuck. Again, coming off of the wet season in May, the grass was still quite tall and comes right up to the road. And thanks to Kafue being such a large park, wildlife are quite scattered all over thanks to water sources everywhere. As a result, our guide Gilbert had to work extremely hard, tracking prints in the sand, listening to the alarm calls of birds, and watching the guarded behavior of antelopes to try to triangulate where the bigger predators might be. With fewer sightings came more excitement when we did spot wildlife, such as when we spotted this leopard hiding under the shade, and this hyena stalking a leopard at night. So many variety of birds, and this young leopard honing his hunting skills. It's said that they've recorded the highest concentrations of leopard in this part of the park. Our walking safari was one of the most thrilling as well. Since elephants aren't as positively habituated to humans in this park with so many years of poaching, you have to stay a safe distance away on ground. On our walk, our scout Sylvester saw them nearby, and when one got a little close, we had to get cover around a tree. Enjoying the Kafue River by river is another activity we got to do where we combined a boat safari with fishing. Chantel ended up catching 2 leopard squeakers.
Wow. This is common. This is very common.
Is it the easiest fish?
And we joke that there are leopards even in the water here. While we loved all the wildlife we did get to see, what truly made Musekese memorable was the connection we can make between the impact of tourism, citizen science, and conservation. In addition to the monetary contribution that our stay makes to the organization, guides have access to a device that allows them to mark findings on game drives, which then feeds into a large amount of data they're capturing. And by increasing tourism presence here, poachers also stay away. As one of our activities, we spent a full day with Musekese Conservation. Started by the founders of the camp, they monitor wildlife, deter illegal activity, and engage the community. On top of the standard half-day visit to Musekese Conservation, which includes a tour of their campus and a presentation by the team on what they do, our full-day add-on experience gave us an opportunity to see a day in the life of the researchers in the field. We started the day using telemetry to track wildlife that had been collared. This led us to seeing a pack of wild dogs, which started off as playful before they eventually made a kill. The researchers snapped a ton of photos to identify each one, and I also had the opportunity to share my photos with them afterwards. We then helped set up camera traps on the side of the road. Another way they can track the type of wildlife that is spread out throughout this part of the park. Chantel did her best hyena walk to test the cameras. After we spent the afternoon at the conservation base camp, they came back to our camp for dinner, allowing us to learn more and ask questions. Speaking of food, we were treated with the same high level of quality that we'd come to expect. One small difference we noticed is that they use foldable tables for their morning break and sundowner setup, which makes a lot of sense. The best meal we had though was when we got to do a private lunch boat cruise on the Kafue River. Just the 2 of us, it was an enjoyable meal under the shade of the boat, while we could also go up to the second deck to hang out on one of their beanbags. I highly recommend adding this to your booking. The real constant from the whole trip are amazing guides and staff. They are the best. Zambia is a premier safari destination that isn't often talked about, but really should be. I know. Hidden gem is such an overused word that even I'm guilty of using, but Zambia is that true wildlife experience that I think many of you are yearning and you probably don't even realize it yet. And it's not in South Luangwa, it's in Kafue National Park, Lower Zambezi National Park. These are the places where you can feel like you have the park all to yourself. From lion, leopards, ellies, puku, fish eagle, and so much more. It felt like most sightings we had all to ourselves. You have vehicles that are maximum of typically 4 people, and on top of that you have walking safaris, boating, fishing, canoeing. All I can say is wow. And that's the luxury. It's not in the fancy lodges with their amenities that you'll never use, but it's in the incredible wildlife viewing and the best guides on the planet. Zambia is,
I would go for wild, diverse,
beautiful, magical,
Peaceful and more protected.
authenticity, simplicity.
Expert guiding, tranquility.
We have the term, what we normally call Zambia Kuchalo, Zambia to the world. Zambia is the mother Africa. We call it again, one Zambia, one nation.
and awesome. Thanks for making it this far. As promised, as part of our partnership with Classic Zambia, if you scan this QR code and make an inquiry using our code GOINGAWESOMEPLACES and are staying in Kafue National Park, you'll be eligible for a free lunch experience in one of their 3 camps in Kafue National Park. For example, in Musekese, you can get this private lunch cruise. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. Those things make a huge difference for our YouTube channel. What an unforgettable safari wonderland in Zambia.
Thank you, and Sikumo Kombili for watching.
And remember, keep going awesome places together.